Dedupe 2.0, What's Coming Next and Why It Matters. Hi, my name is Jason Buffington from the Enterprise Strategy Group. At ESG, I'm the Senior Analyst covering data protection. But before ESG, I've spent the last 20 years in product management, product marketing, and field sales roles, all on backup and recovery solutions. So when I saw the latest ESG research on trends in data protection and modernization, a few items stood out for me. One of them is on the evolving state of disk-to-disk protection and where deduplication fits within the solutions. In the beginning, as we all know, of course, backup as its most primitive solution was simply a backup server copying data to tape. But today, the minimum standard that most folks use is disk-to-disk to tape, or D to T, enabling more frequent and faster protections and faster restores while still leveraging tape as a long-term storage mechanism. In ESG's Data Protection Modernization Trends for 2012, the largest reported response, 31%, are using that D to T scenario today. And while tape may not be dead, according to the research, it is in barely use in over half of the environments surveyed at 56%. Some going straight to tape, old school, some tape to tape in the lower part of the screen, and then of course disk to tape. 56% still using tape. In contrast, 7% of environments are using cloud, either direct to cloud at 2%, or disk to cloud, which gives you a local recovery capability before going to cloud-based storage. And to finish out the picture, 37% are pure disk solutions, meaning disk to disk to another disk across the WAN, or maybe even just disk straight to the WAN, such as in remote offices. In fact, 73% of environments use disk as their primary protection mechanism before either going to disk or tape or cloud. Disk to disk is the right thing to do for most data protection scenarios, but it comes with a cost. Disk to disk protection isn't perfect. In fact, traditional disk to disk will consume anywhere between 3 to 5 times the primary dataset size for the secondary copies, plus all the differentials and incrementals, and if you're not doing incrementals forever, multiple folds. So that's why folks created deduplication of common data. By acting as block storage, a VTL device, or a CIFS or NFS share, or even as some proprietary storage connection, the result is the backup server doesn't have to do anything different, but all of a sudden the storage just works better. Common files, blocks, or objects are reduced, either inline or post-process, and disk to disk all of a sudden becomes much more viable. Dedupe is a when, not an if. But when asked about using Dedupe as part of a data protection solution, 76% of ESG respondents are either using or planning on using deduplication. 4% don't know, and only 20% said they have no plans for deduplication. My guess is they're going to change their minds by the next survey. So, almost everyone has signed up. Just like disk to disk is the minimum way to protect data, Dedupe should be in every data protection solution. But the solution still isn't ideal. In this case, the backup server treats the deduplicated storage like any other storage and writes everything to it. Now, some backup solutions have figured out how to be more intelligent with deduplicated storage. We're going to call that Dedupe 1.5. And by doing so, they selectively send only what the deduplicated storage doesn't already have, thereby working smarter. But in most cases, when the backup server wants to do anything else with the data, it ends up rehydrating the data and sending the entire data set someplace else, even when it's to another backup server that's off-site, and even when it eventually ends up being deduplicated again. Why would you rehydrate? But we're getting better, always improving. So what needs to come next? Dedupe 2.0. Why send everything from the production server when the deduplicated storage likely has most of it? Instead, by providing intelligence and awareness at the production server, at the point of where the data is actually originating, the backup software simply manages and catalogs data protection, while only the change data is transmitted from the production server to the storage solution that happens to be deduplicated. And if the storage really is Dedupe 2.0, then why would you ever rehydrate, other than when you're doing a full file restore? At this point, data protection is achieved in its most optimum method, perhaps even by the workload administrators themselves, and the backup solution ensures compliance to backup standards for RPO and RTO and the cataloging for restores and retention mandates. Look, data will continue to grow. Applications continue to be more complex with administrators often demanding self-governance, and architectures like private cloud will continue to diversify stakeholders. Backup administrators, like many other IT pro categories, need to evolve into becoming service providers. In this case, delivering the capability for data protection in a cost-effective manner using duplicated storage, while assuring the data is being protected, even if they aren't still installing agents and driving backup tools as often. We've come a long way since writing directly to tape. Dedupe is not an if, it's a when. And as to the where, the closer we get to the production server and the workload, the better off that we'll be. To do that, we need not only storage that deduplicates well, but intelligent software and management tiers that know how to leverage that well-performing storage. We need Dedupe 2.0. Until then, I'm Jason Buffington from ESG. Thanks for watching. Now go back something up.